as it cycles through. It's being live streamed. All right. There we go. We are now live on YouTube and we're recording as well. So here we go. Yeah.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is Scotty Shaw, and here's another interview for HackDW3C. And with us today is Helen Zhong, who is an artist. I don't want to say too much. I think I should you say it, but just saying, Helen is going to be at the conference at Duke this weekend. So some of the NFTs you're going to see, some of the art exhibit, some of the just the artwork in general. You're actually going to be witnessing her skills and her passion in person. But we want to talk about something a little different because obviously artists are not just commissioned. They also, I don't want to give away too much. They also have to lead. In Helen's case, Helen, why don't you tell us about, who are you, what do you do, and then we'll get into the interview.
So Scotty, I am a fine artist and I am also a studio owner and founder. So I've been an entrepreneur per se, and I've worked for more than a decade in the design and art direction industry. So yeah, I'm happy to share with you about my knowledge, my path, everything and anything you want to know.
All right. So one thing I do want to highlight, which was the point of this interview, you mentioned being a founder, being an entrepreneur. And yes, we can focus a lot on the art. For example, the two pieces you have behind you, a lot of the stuff that you're going to be showing this weekend. But for a lot of people thinking, oh, how does this involve tech? Well, yes, design is a big part of tech and all that. But since you're going to see all that in person, and then with NFTs, we already touched on design and art and all that. I want to focus a little bit more on leadership and entrepreneurship, because that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Those skills are just as important in the non-STEM world as we think in STEM. So, and obviously art has a lot more STEM involved than a lot of people realize, but we're trying to demystify the idea that art has nothing to do with STEM or leadership and all that. So Helen, I guess for you, you've been working on this stuff for a decade. How did you first realize that you could become an entrepreneur and an innovator?
That is actually a great question, because most of the times when I come across someone that is in tech or have a corporate job, they're always like, oh, I'm so uncertain how art has to do with entrepreneurship and in business. Normally, we don't associate this concept of art and creativity with building a business that is sustainable. So I realized that there is a niche on one side that people don't really understand the art business and art market. And also they have never really understood us as artists and entrepreneurs at the same time. So in my case, my intuition and the circumstances along my way led me to be solution-oriented and entrepreneurial in art. I never thought of the status of being an entrepreneur. So my route in the art world is somewhat different from the other artists. I have always been fascinated with the creative process and the way in which art can evoke emotions and spark conversations and knowledge and experience in art direction and design, which is what I pursued. But I also curiously was first introduced to the commercial side of design and art when I was first working at a design firm that is quite important in Europe. And I learned very much about the market. So my first job actually was to become assistant to the art and design business development department. So through this experience, I understood how to work alongside guidelines of huge companies such as LVMH and Coca-Cola. And actually, I developed my own clients under these conglomerates. So when I actually established my own clients, my own design projects, it was time for me to rethink of the path I want to take as a professional and also as an individual that is passionate by art. So I began to explore ways to turn the passion to develop my own artworks into a career. So I said to myself, I will never be 100% ready, but at least with tons of knowledge and the understanding of the market, I can say that I am now 70% ready. So that is what I thought at the moment of almost launching my business. So I made a deal with my then company, with a firm, with my colleagues, and with my mentors as well. And they were really supportive. I think that is something that was really helpful as well. Surround yourself with people that are helpful and are supportive. So I started to build a portfolio of my work and showcasing it at local galleries and exhibitions and all the traditional pathways of what an artist would do. And also added my own sense of understanding to offer a different perspective to them. So as an artist, a newcomer for them, for the galleries and for the managers and agents, that was something really attractive. Also, it's not easy for you to be entrepreneurial in your passion art world, which is the most volatile market in the whole world. That was what we were commenting about. I quickly realized that the traditional gallery model was not only a way to promote and sell my art, but it was really important to establish into this niche because that is the foundation of all artists. So what I did were things that were kind of, for me, essential, and also at the same time, probably not thought of by other artists, let's say of my age that didn't have my experience, which is in my case, for example, I went to Arco, which is one of the biggest art fairs in Europe. And in that art fair, more than 200 stands of different galleries from all over the world are exhibiting their arts, their artists, and talking to all the professional dealers and buyers and stuff. And what I did during the first year was to bring coffee, of course, to study all of the galleries and understand which ones are of my interest, which ones are not, and everything. And the fair was of 3 days. So first day I was observing them. I didn't talk to nobody. I was understanding who and what and how they are behaving and what are they looking for. So the second and third day, I brought coffee to the probably 20% of the galleries that were there that were of my interest, just code breaking into the conversation and say, hey, I'm Helen Zhong. You probably don't know who I am, but I'm sure you've used something that was designed by me or my agency. And then like, what? How come? I'm like, yeah, probably during the last 3 years, you drank from a Coca-Cola can that was designed by my studio, or you use a scooter to travel from one city point to another city point, using a patent that was from our studio and stuff like that. And they were really interested in it. Then I just said, I'm not here to show any of my art. I'm just here to understand what you really look for, or if you're looking for new artists at all.
Yeah.
And then what can I bring to the table for you? And what value are you not making currently that you would like to have in the near future? And yeah, all the conversations came out exactly productive as I imagined to be. So starting from there, I started to build my network and also sending my artwork and discussing all the other details, and built my own beginning. And then with my previous colleagues, I founded my studio so they could have a space where they can all work comfortably, and also hired different digital art workers from Ukraine, from Poland. That, by the way, because of what the circumstances, it wasn't really easy to manage, but I learned. I mean, I was confident about what I knew, but I learned a lot of things along the way of all the business part of management of resources and how to let things keep going. So yeah, it's a whole process of which I'm still very passionate, and yeah, that's what I aim for and what I'm doing currently.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. You actually answered the second and third questions a bit, because rather than saying and saying very specifically, this is who or what that inspired you. And I'm clarifying this because for STEM people sometimes it's not quite as clear, but for you is very much you were able to kind of draw inspiration from yourself, your surroundings, just kind of, oh, this thing happened, let me build on that. And it's like you said, you would just kind of evolve your art, but also you would just evolve where you were saying, here's me, now here's my studio. And then it's not just art galleries, it's also going around buying coffee, bringing it to others and saying, by the way, you actually used one of my products before, or I guess design styles, patterns. And I think it's very clear that one of your longest term goals is to just continue innovating, just expanding on what you already have. And why I'm kind of jumping over those two questions is because that kind of leads me to the artwork behind you, where we discussed how in my case I can see, oh, it looks good, but I don't necessarily know what's going on. But then, for example, Drupal, I can tell what it says. I can read Chinese just fine in a lot of fonts, and I can recognize that like I was saying earlier, I don't recognize exactly what it is, but I can tell there's a kind of a certain I was saying there, I could see there's certain measurements where if you and I were writing with our natural penmanship, it would be a freer flowing typography. Now, of course, with Chinese words, we've been printing since the 600s AD, and obviously that's another typography. But then for you to draw out this typography, what kind of inspired that? Because this is a bit of an example of how STEM is applied in art. You're saying there's a certain mathematical logic behind that.
It's true. I think I've always wanted to fuse different concepts in art. For example, geometry, mathematics, cultural heritage, individuality, and the meaning of life, and how we develop and become better every day, like ourselves. So I think all the times these three concepts are present in my artworks, and depending on the collection, some concept is more developed than others. So in this case, it was a commission for a 5-star hotel chain, and they wanted to actually use the Chinese characters that symbolize a good meaning, but at the same time comply with their briefing of letting the colors, for example, this is like a Kalba color that I painted by hand, that is of a very special ink that could only be found in China. I shipped it to Europe. That they wanted this kind of luxurious and also very elegant content that goes very well with their furnished background of the hotel lobby. So it was really fun because you get to work with different professionals. You get to work with the architect, interiorist, with the hotel responsibles, but at the same time to develop an idea that is part of the research, right? To talk to the right people, to understand what you're bringing with your concept, what they're looking for. And then the second step is to actually, in my case, since I come from a very design and product design background, I like to have my own sketches and then turn that into a painting. So I started to develop sketches using part of the concept of the geometry mathematics, which is to have logical calculations of the width of all the strokes. This results in that from different perspectives that you look at this painting, you have a different feeling of the weight of the characters. So 聚宝 means treasure gathering or treasure gatherer, right? So I wanted to let people perceive this feeling of heavy, treasured, and gathered, goods and all the positive energy, and also the economic incomes, all these good things to be held in this painting and also held in the lobby of the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably are already familiar with, we'll write fool for luck, fortune, and turn it upside down because in Chinese it's kind of a pun. And yeah, there's a lot of, these artistic visual puns that go along with just the homophones we have in Chinese. So then it turns into a lot of this stuff. And yeah, I think, for you to say, you're combining a lot of different things. It's not just here's the mathematical measurements, but it's also you're going to use a specific ink. You're going to bring it in from China. But then it's a five-star hotel, which five-star hotels is a very Western modern concept, and also how they're designed tend to be very Western. And so kind of a more mathematical measurement rather than a free-flowing Chinese calligraphy type. But then, like you said, kind of mix and match and everything. For anyone doing tech, this is kind of where art and design can play a big role. You look at Apple, Steve Jobs never really called himself a tech person. He never even called himself designer. He would close his letters, emails, all that. He would sign off as Steve Jobs editor. Yeah. Yeah. And we would think editors, oh, he's editing a magazine. No, he simply viewed it as, I'm editing things. He was a very artistic person. And I think we can very quickly recognize Apple products. There's the sleekness, there's a shape, there's a feeling you get. And I mean, honestly, that is partly why Apple has branded itself the way it has, to say, hey, we are a certain way. And it's a lot of taking lots of cultural, linguistic, day-to-day elements and combining it to create a certain feeling. And it's like you said, in this case, it's a five-star hotel. There are certain parameters that go into why you made that piece of art. Just like how I might say, am I going to build an AI project or an analytics project, or is it going to be web dev, mobile, AR, VR, NFTs, Web3? And these are things that inform the decision making as I decide, here's my final tech product. What am I going to build? So, I guess it's not exactly a 1+1 situation, but it's still very much, there's still very much an if else decision making along the way. So, that kind of does lead to the last question. You were talking about how you want others to perceive the artwork. So that's a little bit more kind of the current time frame. But if we're talking about people in the future, whether it's tech people or future artists, how would you like to impact those people?
Oh, I would like to be as sincere and open and to offer my knowledge, experience as much as possible to everyone that searches and needs my help as a mentor or a role model if they want to see me as so. For people that are in any kind of creative business or doing any kind of creative project, I would say that understanding the purpose and the identity of your project is quite important. So you can take me as an artist as a reference, or take art itself, its essence, as a concept or ideology to guide yourself, to understand that probably entrepreneurship, innovation, and all these tech stuff could be intimidating and daunting, but as well as in art, which is very unpredictable and competitive. But in order to make great art and good art, you need to get comfortable in this competitiveness and unpredictable state to enjoy it and bring your own value and merge the value that you can give with what others are looking for. So this way, your work is going to flow. So the process, if you've done the project and you look back, it's going to be much more enjoyable, which is what I recommend to everyone, to not only think of the result, think of the process, because it's really important that you enjoy it in order to deliver the best results possible. And in this case, as we said, we covered the geometrical side, the cultural, the Chinese heritage side. And also we are portraying something that is very important that we cannot forget, that is what's inside us. Why I'm delivering this differently than someone that will deliver from the same concept is because we put ourselves, our individuality, our identity into it. So you are the factor that makes the project or the business different, and believe in yourself. That's what I would say.
All right. Thank you for all that. Yeah, I think it's just in closing, it's interesting how a lot of times, especially come from the US, and then especially for me, come from a sports background, we do tend to one of the team members has used a word with me a lot, not talking about me necessarily, but it does describe me, try hardy. And I laugh every time he does that, because it very much does describe me, whether I mean to or not. I very much do think someone's got to step up and take point. And, a lot of that is shaped by my experiences growing up. But in your case, you're talking about something that comes from it within, where it's not necessarily I see a situation where I need to step up. It's more your inspirations from it within naturally put you in those positions. So where maybe I pull myself into those positions, or I look for those positions. And a lot of times in the US, we probably do have that mindset as well. For you, it's a bit more kind of, how do things just naturally surface? And just like with the art, or you're talking about the different concepts that you fuse together. So just want to make sure everyone watching this understands leadership is not always that, the team captain stepping up and saying, I'll take point, I'm gonna, if we win or lose, I want to make sure that I'm responsible for this. Sometimes it can very much be a different type of leadership. It can be a quieter type, not necessarily that it's quiet, but it feels quieter compared to the usual American style. Sometimes it's more it goes with the flow. Like Helen described, it comes from within as well. So it's not always external factors. It can be internal factors. And I would say, even for myself, there's definitely internal factors. It's just that the stimuli for me tend to be stronger if it's external. But then, Helen, in your case, you're showing how it can be fully internal depending on the situation. And then every now and then, here's some coffee. Did you recognize this this pattern? So
yeah, it's hard to start, but don't be afraid to show up. Show up is really important. Show up to the right people, and be a servant, be a student, be a lifelong learner. And at the same time, don't doubt of your own abilities. And if you want to do something great, it has to come from within, because at the end, you don't want to be Elon Musk, even if he's the greatest inventor or the most famous innovator of our times. You want to be Scotty Chow, and I want to be Helen Zhong. We are all unique, and we need to find our uniqueness and apply that to what we're doing. And actually find passion in the projects that probably we didn't think that could be interesting or could be intimidating. We need to understand what's our purpose and apply that to everything we do.
yeah. Great words from a great artist and entrepreneur leader. So Helen, thank you so much. Definitely look forward to seeing you in a couple days on campus. Just a reminder, everyone coming to Duke campus this weekend is optional for the hackathon. You will need to submit online. We'll have more instructions if, well, I guess we've been posting instructions, but we'll continue to post reminders. Those of you who do want to come to campus, you'll have a chance to meet Helen and see what she's done, the artwork. You'll get to hear her talk again about different topics, stuff that I wouldn't be able to talk about as well. But if you're able to come by, we'd love to see you there. And then, of course, if you've built a project, we'd love to have you showcase it at the Product Expo on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll have our sponsors and judges go through and check out what you're doing, and hopefully hope you get connected to other people. So thank you, Helen. Hope you have a safe flight over. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye.